A warm welcome to another edition of the Week in Review. This time we focus on the week starting October 24th, 2016. The Week in Review is geared at highlighting the top stories of the past week. I am your presenter, Jamiela McPhail. Akila Byron Nisbet was appointed senator in the National Assembly at a short but significant ceremony at Government House on the morning of October 26, 2016. Mrs. Nisbet considers this appointment an honor and privilege.
It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to be given such a special opportunity to be able to be senator within the House of Assembly. As a young woman, I know that I will be standing tall as a woman in Parliament, and as such I represent a great cross-section of the individuals who could perform such great roles and who statistically the ones are always out in front and taking the lead. And I vow today to do my part in Parliament to ensure that a woman's voice is heard, but not only women, but young people's voice is also heard.
In the presence of family members, relatives, friends, and top government officials, including Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, Premier of Nevis, and Senior Minister, the Honorable Vance Amory, Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr., Senator, the Honorable Wendy Phipps, Cabinet Secretary, Mrs. Josephine Huggins, National Hero, Dr. the Right Honorable and Right Excellent Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons, father of Senator Nisbet, Terence Byron, and mother Althea Byron, Alexis Nisbet, her husband, and sister Karima Byron. His Excellency Governor General Sir Tapley Seaton administered the oath of office and the oath of allegiance to the newly designated senator.
I, and you provide your name.
I, Akila Owusi Camilla Byron Nisbet,
Do swear
do swear
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
bear true allegiance
bear true allegiance
to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II,
to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II,
her heirs
her heirs
and successors,
and successors,
according to law.
according to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Fine, thank you.
In acclaiming the new senator soon to be nominated Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris said that the Honorable Nisbet represents the voice of young people.
Today we break the glass ceiling again by giving a young woman this important public position from which she can use to be a further exemplar to young women who have shied away from the political process, to young people who are struggling doing the ordinary things that young families are attempting to do. Take care of their children, take care of their husband and their household, and yet still find time for public service. So I want to thank her husband in particular, who will have to be genuinely flexible with her, who will have to do a lot more babysitting, who will have to spend a bit more time adding to the domestic staff pool, creating some employment in so doing, so that your loving wife can have the time to prepare herself well for the exigencies of parliamentary life and to contribute more publicly, as she will now be required from this public post to be able to do in service to the people. I could not end without saying that last night I had the distinct privilege of presenting her to the executive of the People's Labour Party and to the representatives, well, a cross-section of the executive of the West Bastia branch, and to say every member present commended her for her virtues, her values, which they know more intimately than I have known today. But I want again to commend her, to thank them for their support, and to say she is now in service to the entire country. It is a challenging job, you are aware of, and it takes time to bring the changes that we want in our parliament. This government, though, will try hard, will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the content of the parliament in terms of the debate, the tone of the parliament improves.
Prime Minister Harris said that Senator Nisbet has made a tremendous sacrifice on behalf of the young people of the Federation, the women, and the government of national unity. The MS Viking Star, the lead ship of the Viking Star class of cruise ships and the first such ship operated by the Viking Operation Cruises, a division of the Viking Cruises, made its inaugural call at Port Zante, Basseterre, St. Kitts on October 25, 2016. Several officials from government, including Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Lindsay Grant, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Mrs. Carleen Henry Morton, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Ian Quealy, National Disaster Coordinator at NEMA, Carl Herbert, Controller of Customs, Mr. Jared Bell, and Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, Raquel Brown. Other officials, including Executive Chairman of the Neil Walwyn Group of Companies, Mr. Clayton Perkins and Mr. Donald Cable, and personnel from the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority, SCASPA. Rune Lockling, captain of the Viking Star, shared his thoughts on the vessel's inaugural call to St. Kitts.
We have obviously arrived safely and sound at this beautiful vessel St. Kitts, in island St. Kitts, and this is our first port. This is our maiden call into this beautiful island, and we're actually going to be here 12 times more now until late February. 12 times more. I know our Director of Port Operation, Nikolai, he has been working hard to secure our islands, your islands for us, and share it with us and our esteemed guests on board the Viking Star. The Viking Star was launched in May 2015, so we are a brand new ocean-going company, and for the time being we are the first one in a series of 6 ocean-going ships.
Captain Lockling also announced that come 2017, the new cruise season, the Viking Sea will take over when the Viking Star leaves, where it will make 13 port calls at Port Zante.
And as we will grow, more ships will come by, of course, and the Viking Star is the first one of 6, as I said, and we are very pleased to be here. Thank you all for accepting us, and we are bringing, together with our ship, beautiful vessel, we are bringing more than 900 guests on board and 470 crew members that will enjoy a beautiful island. Thank you very much on behalf of Viking Ocean Cruises and Viking Star and all my officers and crew.
The Honourable Lindsay Grant welcomes Captain Loughlin and his team of officers and crew to St. Kitts.
It's indeed a pleasure for me on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism and my team to welcome you to beautiful St. Kitts and Nevis. In fact, when you just spoke, I felt a little disheartened. I'll tell you why. Because when you said we are getting 13 calls, I saw 14 in my books. I was wondering if you're taking away one.
I want the
But we want to thank you for those 13 calls we will get this year, and I think the 13 that we will get next year. In fact, I've cruised, and in fact this is a beautiful ship. And I know Travel and Leisure has voted you the #1 cruise ship in the world. I know you're particularly involved specifically into river cruises. And now you've ventured out in just recently in 2015 into this area of cruising. And I must say, you have chosen one of the best ports, not only in the Caribbean, but in the cruising ports worldwide. And I think your passengers are going to enjoy a wonderful day. We do appreciate that your ship will stay here until 11 p.m. Yes. And so you're not just coming and rushing back at 4 and 5 p.m., but you're savoring the beauty, the warmth, the friendliness of our people. And I know that the passengers that you have come with are those passengers who like to immerse themselves in the history and the culture of the people. And I believe St. Kitts and Nevis gives you a wealth of opportunity in that regard. So on behalf of my team and the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, I want to welcome you, and I hope we have a long-lasting, fruitful and symbiotic relationship.
And in more news about the tourism sector, the Ministry of Tourism is seeking to strengthen the yachting sector with a meeting of key stakeholders of that sector that convened on Monday, October 24th, to discuss the formulation of the St. Kitts and Nevis Yachting Sector Strategy Plan 2016 to 2021. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Mrs. Carleen Henry Morton, speaking at the meeting, which was held at the Pavilion Christophe Harbour, explains that such meetings are integral to the continued development of the yachting sector, a sector which, according to Mrs. Morton, offers possibilities of many benefits for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yachting in St. Kitts, I don't think that it is anything brand new. But I think what we are trying to do, we realize that it is a fairly developing niche market, new in some persons' minds and in some perspectives. And so what we're trying to do is to formalize, to incentivize in some respects the yachting sector, make sure that we have a fairly good grasp of the operations, what is involved. And so these kinds of discussions will take place from time to time as we build.
Mrs. Morton expressed gratitude to the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, for its support in the development of the sector.
I too would like to say thanks on behalf of Minister Grant and the Ministry of Tourism, say thanks to our ECLAC representatives who are here, Mr. Phillip and Ms. Stewart. We had a little date yesterday with Ms. Stewart that went really, really well. She was able to shed quite some light on what are the challenges that we can anticipate going forward. But she was quick to reassure us as well yesterday that there are a lot of opportunities and that if we continue working together and we stay focused, we really would have a very good result.
Mr. Millard Phillip, ECLAC representative, indicated that ECLAC's role is to facilitate the further development of the sector. He provided a historical context of ECLAC's involvement in the yachting sector.
UN ECLAC has in fact been involved in specific what we call substantive work in the yachting sector in the Caribbean for quite some time. Back as early as 2004, some of the most earliest work in terms of formalizing inquiry into the yachting sector was led by ECLAC in 2004 when we did some assessment of the strategic and policy framework for yachting in the Eastern Caribbean states. We like to see that some of you would know the existence of an entity called the Caribbean, I think, Yachting Association, and the earliest discussions that took place regarding the formation of this entity took place in our office in Trinidad sometime in the late 1990s in something called an expert group meeting where we facilitated from a wide range of communities, associations and countries a discussion as to how the yachting business can be better organized. And so, notwithstanding the fact that here we are today as a facilitator, ECLAC is in fact not a stranger to the discussion on yachting in the region.
Maritime consultant Ms. Nicola Stewart, speaking about the aim of the discussions, indicated that it is her hope that the preliminary discussions will allow for the identification of objectives and how they would be prioritized.
I hope to be able to invoke participation from all of you, significant participation, that we can get information off the ground and agreed in the direction of this strategic plan. Of course, today it's a small group and we consider this a focus group that we will then start the process here or continue the process that was started through the policy and then flow it on to the strategic plan. Of course, today is just the preliminary discussions to get more of the objectives and how they would be prioritized, and we are interested to know from the different aspects of the maritime industry how elements of the plan will affect each aspect or each stakeholder's interests. and how we can ensure that those objectives are all incorporated into the plan, and that how the any kind of critical success factors that we need to ensure is in place, that they are in place. We would also need to know what is it that we need to find in terms of assistance from the government with regard to finance or training or any further development, HR, things of that nature. So those are the things that we will discuss today, and of course incorporate and document all that information to come up with a draft plan, which everyone will have an opportunity to review, provide feedback before the final document is done.
9-year-old Devshi Saxena is the proud winner of the court's National School Reading Competition. We hear more on this report from Ian Richards.
With a fluent style, smooth tone, and an accompanying brisk pace, Devshi Saxena, a grade 5 student at the Nevis Academy Primary School, was adjudged the winner of the 2016 Quartz School Reading Competition National Finals, held on Tuesday, October 25, at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort.
I feel good and I'm excited that I won, and I really appreciate the trophy and all the gifts they gave me, and I'm excited and I'm proud of myself.
The 9-year-old was quite impressive as she read a short story entitled The Village Dinosaur, and also a press release for the fictional Quartz News Now. The other participants in the 8th annual reading competition were Tony Allen of the Tucker Clark Primary School representing the Bastia Zone, Alex Joshua Condell of the George Moody Primary School representing the Private School Zone, the Jaden Dunrod of the Kayan Primary School representing the East Zone, Tashari Douglas of the Dieppe Bay Primary School representing the West Zone, and Ayana Mead of the Elizabeth Pemberton School representing Nevis Zone 2. Miss Saxena represented Nevis Zone 1.
Well, I learned how to pronounce my words properly, which was very hard for me because I have a different accent, and I had problem in saying the into the when there's a vowel in front, but with my principal, Miss Lucia Wilkinson, I have done very well.
The reading competition is just one of many taking place across the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States OECS sub-region. David Jeet Lal, branch manager of Quartz St. Kitts and Nevis, said that his company cared about the local development of children and was committed to the fight to eradicate illiteracy and would partner with the various ministries of education to achieve this goal.
We understand that the ability to read is key to achieving a better quality of life. And if the importance of reading is not encouraged, our youth will not be able to enjoy life's simple pleasures. It is critical for us especially to target 8 to 9-year-old age group, as we believe that this is the ideal time to capture their imagination and develop their interests.
The OECS reading competition is held in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Education. St. Kitts and Nevis's Deputy Chief Education Officer Darrell Lloyd spoke about the benefits of the competition and said its purpose cannot be overstated.
This reading competition takes place at an opportune time when the OECS islands are faced with the challenge of reading comprehension skills, and where many of our students, particularly at the lower infant department, have been deemed as reluctant readers.
The senior education official quoted the results of numerous studies that showed that reading helps to increase the knowledge of readers and gives them an edge over others that do not spend time in a book. Mr. Lloyd also thanked Quartz for introducing the program, which he said has become a staple in the Ministry of Education. Ms. Saxena will now represent the Federation in the regional contest to be held in St. Kitts and Nevis in the near future. I'm Ian Richards reporting.
Thank you, Ian. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and Minister of National Security, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, has explained that Saturday's immigration initiative is a part of a larger effort to bolster law and order in St. Kitts and Nevis. Almost 100 nationals of Jamaica, the United States, Cuba, Venezuela, and the Dominican Republic were detained by police and immigration officers on October 22nd. This exercise was a response to the increasing concerns voiced by residents. The Federation's Prime Minister called on all illegal immigrants to regularize their status. You have been viewing the Week in Review. This SKNIS produced program is geared at highlighting the top stories for the past week. I am Jamiela McPhail.